Welcome to Talking Straight. I'm Suresh Kochatl. The Brahmapuram land-fired fire is the biggest environmental disaster in the country after the Bhopal gas tragedy. Even though in terms of the death toll, the massive fire and the resultant smoke at the Brahmapuram landfill in Kochi has not killed anyone till date, the aftermath of this man-made disaster will last for a few decades and maybe a century. The devastating fire at Kochi's Brahmapuram garbage plant has more than just left hapless residents breathless. It has also exposed the dangerous chinks in Kerala's waste management system. On the 2nd of March, the 110-acre site caught fire due to extreme heat and excessive garbage accumulation. This resulted in Kochi being engulfed in extremely noxious fumes and turned the city into a veritable gas chamber. But unlike the Bhopal gas tragedy, which grabbed international media attention for months and years, the environmental disaster at Kochi has not travelled beyond the boundaries of the state. If this had happened in a BJP-ruled state, Congress and Communists and others would have taken out protest rallies in Delhi and other places. If you recollect, communist leaders, mostly from Kerala, had organized a protest in front of the Brazilian embassy against the Brazilian government not taking enough measures to protect the massive fire in the Amazon rainforest a few years ago. The fire at Brahmapuram will cost the health of the citizens living near the landfill and surrounding areas dear in the months and years to come. But what is appalling is the way the Kochi Municipal Corporation and the Kerala state government are passing the buck when it comes to shouldering the responsibility for this man-made disaster. It ranges from Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan's complete silence on the issue, barring a press note, and ministers of his cabinet blaming everyone but their own government. There was an irony of sorts as the state government had claimed a few months ago that the National Green Tribunal had fined every other state in the country but had given Kerala a clean sheet. But a closer reading of the rulings of the NGT shows that it had pulled up Kerala governments numerous times for the lax policies when it comes to waste management, and also warned of the disaster looming ahead at Brahmapuram. Within days after the fire swept through the mountains of garbage and enveloped Kochi city, in a cloak of smoke, the NGT imposed a fine of 100 crores on the Kochi Municipal Corporation. The Malayalam news channels have been exposing the corrupt practices of the Kochi Municipal Corporation when it came to awarding contracts for the waste management at Brahmapuram. Companies owned by the ruling CPM leaders and their relatives with absolutely no experience in waste management were awarded contracts to manage these landfills, and after they were allowed to circumvent the rules and enter a joint venture with other companies who had experience in this domain. The massive fire and the smoke at Brahmapuram waste dump yard have left the residues that can cause long-term health issues in soil, water, and even on the people of Kochi. The Kerala State Pollution Control Board, which has been critical of the way the waste dump yard was functioning, which has miserably failed in the solid waste management plant. There have been two earlier cases of fire breaking out at the plant in 2019 and 20, and the studies post these fires had found the dioxin emissions caused by the fire breakouts were higher than the control level that is actually supposed to be. The Brahmapuram incident shouldn't be seen as a garbage dump fire that went out of hand. Instead, it should be considered as a symptom of Kerala's chronic waste management crisis, fueled by severe lack of appropriate disposal infrastructure, flawed regulations, and poor awareness about segregation and recycling. So much for a state that claims to have 100% literacy. The decade-old history of fire incidents in Brahmapuram has resulted in a contamination of nearby vegetation and human settlement areas, and it will definitely result in the exposure to free-ranging hens, cows, and any other animals grazing in that area, and also to the fishes in the nearby streams or ponds. The Kerala government, on its part, had introduced a solid waste management policy in 2018 and recently declared that the state would be garbage-free by 2026. That deadline will never be met. According to the Kerala State Environmental Plan 2022, the state produces over 11,449 tons of solid waste daily, with 3,452 tons being generated in the urban areas and 7,997 tons being generated in the rural areas. The total is equivalent to the solid waste that Delhi produces daily. Kerala government has admitted that the treatment facilities in the state can process only 3,205 tons of solid waste per day. Bridging this huge gap in daily waste management would require significant capital investment and capacity building, such as constructing new state-of-the-art waste treatment facilities. But the Kerala state government is bankrupt and of course has no money. Improper segregation practices have also significantly challenged the state's waste management goals. According to the Kerala State Pollution Control Board, less than 10% of the garbage generated in the state is segregated at source, making it difficult to manage and treat. The Harita Karma Sena, functioning under the Kerala government's poverty eradication Kudumbashree mission, collects and segregates dry, non-biodegradable waste from households and sends it to shredding points and for recycling. This is in accordance with Kerala's 2016 solid waste management rules and aims to reduce the adverse impact of improper garbage segregation on the environment. Despite the government's claim of achieving 70% door-to-door collection in urban areas, the efforts of the Harita Karma Sena volunteers have been largely inconsistent. Due to political affiliation with ruling parties and their trade union, the staff do not collect trash regularly or even weeks sometimes. This results in households being left with huge piles of waste to manage on their own, which can be challenging, particularly for those who live in urban areas and lack the necessary resources to dispose the waste. As a consequence of this inconsistency, illegal dumping of solid waste on streets and vacant spots has become a common thing in densely populated neighborhoods of villages and towns in Kerala. The lack of monitoring has also made it difficult to assess the impact of the garbage collection initiative. While local authorities can impose spot fines and do similar things to punish these offenders, the real solution lies in closing the gap between monitoring and evaluation of waste management processes and ensuring that the staff carry out their duties as expected. Worse, most cities and towns in Kerala do not have an underground drainage system, including the IT parks, which are touted as Kerala's development model. Most independent houses and even huge apartment complexes in the state use septic tanks, a method that has been junked by most of the world long ago. The Brahmapuram fire has galvanized public opinion and calling on all stakeholders to unite and take concerted action to reduce waste generation, increase recycling, composting and promote responsible waste disposal. Kerala's public discourse must prioritize waste management as much as it claims to do in healthcare and education. Closer home in Hyderabad, the Nagar landfill on the outskirts of Secunderabad has its own share of issues, and the Brahmapuram is waiting to happen there too. Locals around Nagar have been complaining of stink from the landfill and the resultant health issues. The entire garbage of Secunderabad and Hyderabad is dumped in Nagar. Why don't the massive residential complexes being constructed in western Hyderabad have their own solid waste management plan? Why does Secunderabad become the dumping ground? Are we children of a lesser god? I will take this up in my next video with a panel discussion with experts on this subject a few days from now. Keep watching. Jai Hind.
Please subscribe to Nationalist Hub English channel for more interesting videos, and don't forget to like and share this video. Nationalist Hub, it's a news revolution.